Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy RJ here. And look, Duskbloods. It's been long talked about. It's been wondered about. What does this game look like? How does it play? What's the combat? What's the gameplay loop? Well, we're going to get all into that today. So stick around, subscribe if you're new. We're going to jump right into it. So, Duskbloods, for those of you that don't know, that is going to be a new Nintendo Switch game, still slated for 2026 without a release date. It just went through a preview, and we know that this game is supposed to be an online multiplayer experience made from Software. Now, this is the studio that made stuff like Elden Ring, and this is a huge, surprise Switch 2 online exclusive. Now, this game's going to have a high barrier of entry. It's a paid-for online game in an era where there's a lot of free-to-play. So this is going to have to be severely fan-supported to actually work. And hopefully it does, so Nintendo can strike more deals like this and get more maturely rated games like this. So I could also tell you, as somebody that isn't very good at all at stuff like Elden Ring, is I'm hopeful this game will have an easier barrier of entry and allow people like me and others to enjoy this game and to maybe give From Software more chances than we have in the past, as they're looking to expand more into the online sphere than just doing single player games. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not going away from single player games, but for this game in particular, this is an online focused game. And I think it's actually much needed for the Switch 2. There's a lot of good single player experiences in Switch 2, but outside of maybe some matches of Mario Tennis Aces and Mario Kart World, obviously, there's not a whole lot of great online experiences with the Switch 2. Yeah, Star Fox has a multiplayer, but this game being built specifically around multiplayer is really going to justify your Nintendo Online purchase. And it's really going to justify, hey, look at third parties really getting involved with Nintendo in an exclusive deal. Like, this is a very much a unicorn game, we'll say. But, it's obviously set in a dark world, and it almost seems like gothic and vampiric, and this game has a lot of mystery around it. There's no game out there that is coming out somewhat soon that has more mystery around it than this game. So I just want to break down what we learned from these previews and what the gameplay actually is and what the gameplay loop actually is, so I could better understand it and you all can too. And don't forget, if you subscribe to me and, hey, you want to play Switch 2 with me, we can talk about exchanging friend codes. YouTube has a messaging app system. Find a way to add me on there. I don't do Discord or Twitter anymore. So, hey, we could potentially play this game online together if you want when it comes out. So, let's see what the summary is. Duskbloods is a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive multiplayer action game developed by From Software. Shifting away from traditional single-player Souls-like structures, it is a fast-paced PvPvE, player versus environment competitive game centered around vampiric warriors called Bloodsworn. Here is the match structure and progression. There's an 8-player lobby. Matches start with 8 players deployed across large multi-biome maps. There's a 4-phase survival structure. Matches are divided into 4 distinct timed phases. Players earn virtue points by completing PvE objectives, hunting monsters, collecting items, and engaging in map events. At the end of Phase 1, 2, and 3, the lowest scoring players are eliminated from the match. The final brawl. Phase 4 drops the remaining 3 players into high-stakes, free-for-all PvP slugfest called Moon Blood Bestowal Grail Battle. The last player standing wins the coveted first blood. So let's talk about that structure for a second. So there's 8 players. There's 4 different phases. So this is not like, oh, this is a Call of Duty 5-minute match, you're over. There's some effort you put into this. And you earn these virtue points by basically doing stuff. Completing objectives, killing monsters, all that. So this is your PvE section. Now, at the end of Phase 1, 2, and 3, low-scoring players eliminated from the match. To me, that sounds like the lowest would be the 8th, the 7th, and the 6th player. That should leave 5 left, but it doesn't say 5 are left. It says 3 players will be left. So maybe they're dropping 2 at a time? Or 1 or 2 at a time? I'm not sure exactly how many players get dropped after each phase, but it ends up with 3 players in Phase 4 for the final brawl. So it's got some elements here of, you know, Fortnite in the idea that, hey, you're eliminated, like a battle royale sense, like, oh, you're eliminated. But a lot of your phases are PvE. You only get to PvP when you hit the final brawl. So I find that interesting. Let's see. Traversal and combat mechanics. You're able to leap over buildings with 0 fall damage. Every character is equipped with unique projectile firearm alongside their melee weapon, a sniper rifle or spear gun that shoots out missiles. Players can trigger temporary beast-like transformations, such as turning into massive velociraptor for powerful grab attacks. Staggering enemies allows you to drink their blood to fuel these powers. So yeah, there's a lot of skills here. Over a dozen unique Bloodsworn characters available, ranging from long-range snipers to heavy tanks. So that's good. There's at least more than 12 different types of characters, or 12 different characters in this game. So you'll have some unique interactions. Sucking blood to refuel your powers makes a lot of sense in this sort of a vampire game. Turning into beast-like entities, transforming, you know, like your super, basically. I like it. I like what we're seeing so far. Strategic alliances. Players can formally initiate alliances with rivals during the first 3 phases. Allying prevents friendly fire and shares virtue points and weapon upgrades. So, there's a dynamic here where when you're separated out into the biomes, you could initiate an alliance with who you're stuck with. And if you do, though, you share the rewards. Or you could choose not to share the rewards. So this is an interesting test of human greed. You could either be like, look, I'm going solo in this biome. You got your side of the map, I got my side of the map, and we'll earn what we get. Or you could just say, yo, we're teamed up anyway. We'll share the rewards. You actually have that option here, which is interesting. There's a betrayal penalty. Breaking an alliance early forces the defector to surrender a portion of their accumulated virtue to their former partner. So let's say you do decide to partner up to somebody, and then you decide halfway through the match, actually, I don't want to partner up with them. They kind of suck, and I don't want to share the rewards. Well, you can break your contract. You just got to pay a certain amount of money. And then there's a mandatory split. All alliances automatically dissolve when you enter Phase 4, as only one solo player can win the match. So if you do get all the way to Phase 4, you could duo with somebody. You could get all the way to Phase 4, but when you get to Phase 4, it is every man for themselves. So you could have a partner, a teammate, get all the way to Phase 4, and then you will have to attack each other. There can only be one winner. Love that. And then there is a duos mode. It's a separate structured queue, splits the 8-player lobby into 4 teams of 2. So that will be interesting. I think I'll be running a lot of duos with Eli, friend of the channel. Sigils and items. Equipping specific items or sigils completely changes match objectives. For example, one sigil takes you with hunting down a specific player, has your sworn enemy for extra virtue, while another item can trigger an unlockable co-op boss ending instead of a PvP finale. So that's crazy. You can trigger an unlockable co-op boss ending instead of a PvP finale. So there is a possibility of changing the ending where you don't have to face each other, but you could actually end up spawning a boss that you all take on together when you get to phase 4. This game's got a lot to it. This is a meaty, chunky game. I hope there's not like... There can be a little bit of confusion, I think. But I think the thing to remember is I think there's going to be a lot of on-screen prompts. You know, more UI than you'll see in a normal FromSoft game. There's going to definitely be some on-screen prompts about, hey, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And there's definitely going to be a lot of stuff that's esoteric in this game. Like, look at it this way, kind of like Call of Duty Zombies, where it's like, yo, you could do a whole bunch of this or this or this or that, or you could just try to survive the round. And I feel like this game, there's going to be a lot of, let me go try to, you know, just kill enemies and do stuff in the PvE section. And then eventually you'll end up doing PvP. And that's all you really need to know. So I think this can work. I think clearly there has to be respawning. It's not a one life thing, because if it's a one life thing, I'm sure you're going to get killed a lot when you're trying to kill their monsters. So there must be respawning. I'm using a little bit of logic here. I'm using a little bit of reasoning. You know, if there wasn't spawning and you only have one life, then everybody could get wiped out. It's a FromSoft game. So there's got to be respawning. In fact, I'll figure that out right now. I'm going to figure that out right now while we're in video. Is there respawning? Is there respawning in Duskbloods? If not, we got a bigger problem. Yes, respawning allows players to revive freely during initial phases of a match with no harsh death penalties like losing drop currencies. During the first 3 phases of a match, you can respawn an unlimited number of times at a chosen area in the map, keeping all your accumulated virtue intact. Final phase. Death becomes restricted only in the tense final showdown phase against remaining players, where you are given a limited pool of lives, such as 3 deaths before you're fully eliminated. So that final phase, I assumed it was going to be 1 life. It's 3 lives in the final phase. So it's unlimited respawns in the first 3 phases, and it's all about earning virtual points. And then in the final phase, it's 3 deaths. I can tell you, after watching previews, after reading the details, after figuring things out, I am way more excited for Duskbloods than I was before, and I cannot wait to play this game. You guys, let me know in the comments below, are you excited for Duskbloods? And if so, let me know. But until next time, this is RJ signing out. Have a good one.